All right, ladies and gentlemen, I know everybody's excited. I'm hyped up, but we got to kind of sit down because we're about to really get things kicked off when President Trump gets here. But these next speakers, they deserve a little respect and attention, especially Congressman Gates. But before they come out, I just want to introduce one of the baddest ass dudes in all of politics. He's fearless, he's awesome, and he's Jimmy Kimmel's arch nemesis. Please give it up for Vish Burra, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here in the Big Apple for the New York Young Republican Club's 111th annual gala, where it's always lights, cameras, and action, action, action. And without further ado, it is my honor and privilege to introduce the winner of the Frederick Rene Couder Award by thanking him.
So one of the things about this that kind of is annoying, so why you have Harry Sisson, you have all, Chris Mowry, all these TikTokers that are on social media telling you how Generation Z is going to be voting Democrat. And here you have the Young Republican Club, and none of them are doing the same thing. Why can't they use the same strategy that the DNC is using to hire these, kids that are in their 20s in order to try and get more Gen Z voters on the Republican side? I don't see any of it.
Friend, the firebrand from Florida, the prize fighter of the Panhandle, Congressman Matt Gaetz.
Thank you all so much for inviting this Florida man to your fancy New York Yankee party. I spoke to this gala 2 years ago, but that was in New Jersey, which is different. Matter of fact, years ago when I spoke to this gala, I was the fill-in for Sarah Palin. And tonight, I'm the fill-in for my good friend and House colleague Byron Donalds. So I guess you could say I'm kind of like the Denny's of gala speakers. You never really meant to show up here, but we're going to make it a positive experience nonetheless. But I don't know if I love the trajectory. Sarah Palin was a governor. Byron Donalds, my fellow House member. At this rate, 2 years from now, I'm going to be filling in for Mike Lindell as he's interrupting one of his own commercials. You've met my shy wife, Ginger. What can I say about my star of a spouse? She is beautiful, brilliant, talented, and she is available for booking January 20th, 2025, when Donald John Trump is historically and triumphantly inaugurated the 47th President of these United States. Now, I don't get invited to a lot of fancy parties in Washington, D.C., and when I am, I often look at the invitation with the skepticism that Joe Pesci's character should have had in Goodfellas. Oh, if I show up, I'll be a made guy. What could possibly go wrong? But just think of the MAGA talent we have assembled here. Steve Bannon, we've got Bernie Kerik, Boris Epshteyn, Vish Burra, Rudy Giuliani, President Trump, myself, all under one roof. And if Joe Biden is reelected, that roof will be known as Cell Block A.
Yeah. Very true.
Rudy Giuliani is one of the greatest crime fighters who has ever lived in the United States of America. He took out the mob in New York. He took out the riffraff and the hoodlums. He put this city on his back to become an economic and political and cultural powerhouse. And if there were any justice in this world, they would never stop building statues to Rudy Giuliani in this once great city. And Steve Bannon, what can I say about my friend and mentor? I really think that War Room Prison Break is going to be the best lineup of the series. We had War Room Impeachment, War Room Pandemic. You were really ahead on that one. But with War Room Prison Break, you're going to be able to enter code Bannon at Birch Cold to directly contribute to Steve's release. I miss simpler days when our political conflict was about who had the most novel take on quantitative easing, or perhaps some nip or tuck we could make to tax or regulatory policy. But Republicans and Democrats, they used to work together and be celebrated as master legislators if they renamed post offices. Everybody loves a good blue ribbon commission. They had perfect families, perfect lives, even perfect hair. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It should be a requirement in American politics today. But authenticity, the sincere willingness to take risk to improve people's lives, is harder to find in Washington, D.C. today than Jamal Bowman during a fire drill. For decades, the waters in Congress were calm, but the American people were drowning in floods of debt, devaluation, offshoring of our jobs amid endless war and despair. These are not simple days. We are at war, our movement is under siege, and we need the toughest, baddest fighters we can find. As New York Republicans, you live behind enemy lines, and you know what awaits our country if we fail. They're just raising taxes. They are destroying the dollar as an economic institution in the world. They aren't just creating new wasteful programs. They are terminating parental rights if you don't call your kid Zer. They aren't just growing government. They are trying to defeat President Trump in the witness box and the jury box because they know they will never be able to legitimately defeat him at the ballot box. There is a reason we love it when President Trump says, drain the swamp. It's because we know instinctively that the entire ecosystem needs disruption for something better to arise of the muck. Now, I'm a lifelong Florida man, and I know swamps well. To build golf courses and subdivisions and outlet malls for all you New Yorkers, I've seen many swamps drained. And here's something I can share.
Owen was let out yesterday.
The alligators and the snakes and the vermin, well, they don't really enjoy the process.
And that white
As the water
screen
level
is
drops,
the
they
rumble
thrash
trap.
and hiss and rattle around like crazy. Now, I know I have taken a little bit of criticism recently. Even the Wall Street Journal led with this editorial headline, "The Gates of Republican Hell." It was the first regime change that the Wall Street Journal had ever opposed. A first for them. But my crime wasn't opening the border.
For those of
or
you that are
weaponizing
on
the administrative state.
YouTube, you can
I
head
have
over
the
to
nerve demand that Republican lawmakers actually
Dennis
start
Hendrickson.
keeping their promises to Republican voters.
And you can watch this
That
over
for
there as well.
once, we stop continuing everything in Washington the same way it's always been done. The Republican majority in the House of Representatives is the sole lever of power we have right now, and I don't think it's unreasonable that we start using it. And Speaker Mike Johnson has finally sending a damn subpoena to Hunter and Frank Biden. For too many years, the Republican Party was infected with surrender as a strategy. Amnesty for illegal immigrants, intervention overseas, and selling out to corporate America won the day. I will never be okay with this. They can hate me, they can smear me, they can try to expel me, but what they really hate is that I am the only Republican in Congress who takes no donations from federal lobbyists or political action committees. I work for you, not them. They couldn't buy me off, they couldn't compromise me or destroy me, and they've tried all three, but here I stand, more inspired than ever to deliver for this great president and this great movement we're all a part of. What has emerged in Congress today is a dangerous uniparty fused together by a mutual interest in changing as little as possible. They keep getting rich in a rigged game, while seniors see their savings diluted and millennials see diminished lives. The generation that should be undertaking leadership cannot undertake the interest rates in modern mortgages. And interestingly, you haven't felt or seen enough difference between Republican and Democrat control in Congress because both sides are working for the same special interests. Big business, big banks, big tech, big pharma, they fund both parties bigly. They will buy off multiple candidates in a single contest. Ron DeSantis seems angry that establishment donors are flipping to Nikki Haley. They are willing to flip so easily because they never really believed in anything to begin with.
Very true.
And foreign governments have learned to play by these rules too. Hunter Biden's best defense may be that it's a time-honored tradition in Washington to have foreign governments paying bribes to people's family members. I was astonished recently by this phenomenon. It's even more shocking than the phenomenon I've seen in the UFO hearings. But it's the phenomenon of how good spouses of members of Congress are at lobbying. Having a lawmaker's spouse become a paid lobbyist is now so prevalent in Washington, they have to have a special slide presentation on that subject during mandatory ethics training. Think about that. When someone gets elected to Congress, there's suddenly a huge demand to hire their spouse as a lobbyist. Senator Menendez in neighboring New Jersey had wife number 2 shaking down the Egyptians for gold bars. Their biggest crime might have just been not doing the right paperwork. And now my colleagues want to negotiate with me. They grit their teeth through the hatred, and they want to raise the threshold on the motion to vacate a Speaker of the House. Well, I'll make this deal. We can raise the threshold on the motion to vacate when there is a lifetime ban on members of Congress and their immediate family from becoming lobbyists or registered foreign agents. You play for our team or theirs, no entering the transfer portal. I still remember when leadership had their first intervention with me, they said I lacked patience, I felt they lacked courage, and now one of them lacks keys to the Speaker's office. To my colleagues, these jobs we have, they aren't worth having if you're not willing to say a simple word. No. No authorizing programs which have been corrupted like FISA. No, we aren't going to keep funding Mayorkas if he doesn't secure the border. We're not going to authorize a military that wants to be a drag show performance troupe that loses wars on the side. And we are not going to send money to a dispute over which guy in a sweatsuit runs Crimea. We aren't spending one more taxpayer dollar on CRT or DEI or pronouns or protests. The Republican Party is the only vehicle available for our uses in the mission ahead, and you, as battle-hardened Republicans of New York, know how America's story ends if we fail. Importing the third world's problems to slum it on your streets is rotting the Big Apple to its core. And just look at who the Democrats have given us as their standard bearer. Joe Biden. In the words of America's greatest president, they aren't exactly sending their best. Joe Biden is too old and too corrupt to be president. If you are as old as Joe Biden, you should be grandfatherly. The sweet type, not the scratch and sniff weirdo type. And if you're as corrupt as Joe Biden, you better inspire us and look like a Kennedy. Less than a year from now, America has a choice to make: greatness or decline. I look around this city and I see the fingerprints of President Trump everywhere. The Trump Tower, Trump International Hotel, Central Park Skating Rink, the Plaza Hotel, some of the greatest assets in the world. And how has New York rewarded this great man? By trying to bankrupt and imprison him.
Yep.
And why has this been the left's response? It is
Donald
because
Trump
they
turned New York
see
City around
at the thought of greatness.
back in the 70s
They are
and
the
80s.
political party that considers Kamala Harris an intellectual, John Fetterman a senator, and Lizzo a sex symbol. Look at how they treat our great nation. Everything is in downgrade, from the Senate dress code to the freaking dollar. The APR on every major American credit card is skyrocketing as Joe Biden soils his pants on the way to meet the Pope. You get a statue in this country if you die of a fentanyl overdose, but if you lead a revolution, write a constitution, your statue gets torn down and used as scrap metal. They don't want to make America great again because they don't believe America was ever great. That is the difference between the people in this room and the leftists outside who will return home to an air fryer recipe for one lonely soul. Our heroes are Davy Crockett, Theodore Roosevelt, Thomas Jefferson, Donald Trump. Their heroes are George Floyd and Dylan Mulvaney and Anthony Fauci. It is why we have no choice to elect Donald Trump, the next president of the United States. He, more than anyone, knows that you have to fight. You have to fight like hell to return this nation to our glory. Our nation's decline is because too many Republicans have been derelict in their duty. Politics is choose your fighter time. I know who I want fighting for me and America and all of you. The greatest president we have ever known. I will fight for this man. I will put it all on the line because I see how hard he fights for all of us. God bless you. God bless the great Empire State. God bless the greatest mayor who has ever lived, Rudy Giuliani. Let's go get him.
He's going to replace DeSantis for the next president. DeSantis killed his chances of becoming president, and now it's going to be that guy, Matt Gaetz.
All right, folks, we're getting to the moment we've all been waiting for. But before we do that, there is something I do want to bring up. When President Trump becomes the 47th president, he's going to have a lot of challenges ahead of himself. Massive inflation, the fentanyl crisis, the border, the war in Ukraine, and peace in the Middle East. But what I hope is the first thing on his agenda is finding out if Michelle Obama is a boy or not. But with all that being said,
My guess.
let's give a
Big
warm
Mike
round of applause
is Big Mike.
for the president
Shaw?
of the New York Young Republican Club, the one, the only, Gavin Wax.
Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, dignitaries, and of
You're
course,
right, Elaine. They need to
President
get rid
Donald
of
J. Trump.
Ron
It is,
McRomney.
it is, to put it mildly, the honor of a lifetime
She's
to
part
be
of the
hosting
Uniparty.
all of you here today for the New York Young Republican Club's 111th annual gala. Now, this is more than just a magnificent ballroom that we find ourselves in. This is a site of great political importance. Now, some of you may know this, but some of you may not. But way back in 2016, simpler times, a certain woman, or rather a certain crooked woman, a woman who will never be president, addressed a crowd in this very room from this very stage. The day was September 9th, 2016, roughly 60 days before the presidential election. And that oh-so-crooked woman was none other than Hillary Rodham Clinton.
That's Chaw's girl.
She told the crowd that you could put half of President Trump's supporters into a so-called basket of deplorables. It was a revealing moment. It was a moment that captured the essence of our nation's rotten, corrupt, and out-of-touch political elites. But more importantly, it was also the moment that helped set the stage for the greatest political upheaval in American history. 60 days later, President Trump would achieve the impossible, what all the pundits and commentators and consultants never thought he could do. President Trump broke the blue wall. He won states that Republicans have only dreamed of winning, and he completely ushered in a new populist political realignment. And all of this was done while delivering a decisive electoral blow to one of the most corrupt and sinister figures in American politics. Because of that win, President Trump ushered in one of the greatest periods of economic prosperity and world peace that our nation has ever known. And in many ways, it started from this very spot, in this very stage, and in this very city. A city that I know President Trump loves dearly. A city that he grew up in. A city he walked the streets in. A city that he left an indelible mark on. From the beautiful and ever iconic Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue to Central Park's Wallman Ice Skating Rink, or even down the block to 40 Wall Street. Almost every corner of this city, from Manhattan to Queens, has played a massive part in the life of President Donald J. Trump. A life that predated politics, a great life, a life that he gave up to fight for what he believes in. It is undeniably an American story. So to welcome him back to his hometown, back to where it all began, is truly symbolic. Because make no mistake about it, the Trump movement is truly a New York movement. And you will never understand President Trump or his movement unless you understand New York. But sadly, the city that we all love is a city in decline. President Trump knows it. We all know it. We see it on the streets. We feel it in the air. The crime, the drugs, the homelessness, the trash, the corruption.
What's up, Lisa?
It has
What's
become
up, Night Vision?
inescapable.
Yeah, free
The city
Assange
of
for
dreams
sure.
has become a city,
Being
a symbol
held
for
captive.
the vessel for the American dream has now become a dumping ground for all of the world's problems, made worse by a weaponized and insincere form of left-wing compassion. In many ways, the decline of New York City is reflective of the decline of America. A decline that President Trump has consistently warned about for decades. He called out deindustrialization, the globalization, the forever wars, and the ineptitude of our political class long before ever doing so was in vogue. And this very decline is what President Trump successfully reversed during his administration, despite all the odds. Today, President Trump is once again fighting for this country, fighting for all of us, attacked from all sides, and the entire system is throwing its full weight against one man and one man only. And I can tell you, it isn't the guy in high-heeled boots who's down by 60 points. No, they are scared of one individual and one individual only, and his name is President Donald J. Trump. Everything else is a sideshow, a distraction, and frankly, an insult, because nobody has the fortitude, the force of will, the determination to rise to the occasion, fight back against every punch they throw, and still come out on top winning. He can't be broken. And let me just say, President Trump's authenticity and loyalty always shines through, even in the darkest of times. Here he is tonight, spending an evening with members and supporters of this organization, an organization that has routinely and consistently under my leadership stood by President Trump. On November 15th, 2022, just hours before President Trump formally announced his re-election, this club boldly came out with our endorsement of him, making us one of the first organizations in the entire country to endorse him for re-election. We were attacked, we were criticized, we were lambasted, you name it. The hit pieces from the fake news followed. But we endorsed when many thought that President Trump was done for. We endorsed him when it seemed like the chips were down, because we weren't trying to pick a winner. We truly believed in President Trump. And you know what that's called? That's called loyalty. And when President Trump And when President Trump called on his supporters to rally against the politicized prosecution and persecution of him by this incompetent and derelict district attorney, this club answered the call. We rallied more than 1,000 people on less than 3 days' notice in the middle of the work week to some cold and dingy, desolate park in Lower Manhattan outside of the court. And there, we made our voices heard. President Trump doesn't forget. He remembers his friends, he remembers his allies, and he remembers who was there for him when it counted. Because President Trump knows what everyday Americans know, that loyalty does matter. Loyalty to this country matters, and loyalty to the president matters. And that's why the people love him. That's why he can't be replaced. And that's why he can't be stopped. And that's why we need to get President Trump back to where he rightfully belongs in the White House. And as we head into 2024, let us be laser focused on our end goal, getting our rightful president back into office. Because under President Trump's leadership, only him and only him alone can we bring about an American national renewal. And since I know the deep state is listening tonight, once President Trump is back in office, we won't be playing nice anymore.
That's what I'm talking about.
It will be a time for retribution. All those responsible.
Yep.
All those responsible for destroying our once great country will be held to account. After baseless years of investigations and government lies and media lies against this man, now it is time to turn the tables on these actual crooks and lock them up for a change.
Yep, there we go.
Moments like these call for a truly strong leader who will do whatever it takes to restore the nation. A man who does not bow to the arbitrary boundaries set by the media or the left. A man who is totally unafraid to go on the offensive and to hold those accountable for our nation's decline. And it is the honor of my life that this man joins us in this very room today, and to be able to deliver to him our President Richard M. Nixon Award, named after the club's greatest alumnus, President Nixon, who in fact predicted President Trump's ascendancy to the White House 40 years ago. Under my leadership, the New York Young Republican Club will forever be a vanguard of the Trump movement in this city. We will be unrelenting in our pursuit of the America First agenda, and together we will make America great once more. Now, ladies and gentlemen, get on your feet and give a loud, warm New York welcome to our hometown hero, the 45th, the 46th, and the 47th President of the United States, President Donald John Trump.
There ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Heard what before Night Vision?
From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land.
I hear you. I wonder too if he gets in, is he actually going to do it this time? You're right to question that. I was on earlier today and he was with Hannity, and I think, he cannot make the same mistakes that he did before. I mean, he has got to go after these crooks. And you're right, words are words until he actually does something, and hopefully we'll do something this time, because if he doesn't, we're all done for. I mean, the country's already in the absolute toilet as it is.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Wow, some really great speeches. That was something. That was something. Very special people, very special place. I know Wall Street very well for a lot of years, working here, owning property on Wall Street, and being in this great city that's under tremendous siege right now. It's a terrible thing that's happening, but it is great to be back in New York, and it's a true honor to address the oldest and largest young Republican club in the United States. I want to express my tremendous gratitude to all of you for being one of the very first organizations in the entire nation to endorse my 2024. Doesn't it sound good? Now it's happening. It's happening. We shouldn't have had to wait this long, but things like that happen. Things like that happen. But when we were at 4 years and we were fighting because we had a rigged election like nobody's ever seen before, and a lot of people thought it could happen maybe sooner, and it should have happened sooner because of what they did. A bunch of cheaters. They are cheaters like nobody's ever cheated before. Third world country. But now the time is here, and we're going to do it. We're going to do it right, and we're going to find out what happened then. But more importantly, we're going to take our country to new levels that nobody would have thought possible when you're looking at what's happened today. Let me especially thank your president, Gavin Wax. Gavin, that was an excellent speech. That was an excellent
Definitely
speech.
needs
Wow.
to pardon Assange. No question about that. You are right about that. I agree.
I want to thank you and for your future wife, even though you haven't told her that yet. Don't lose her, Gavin. Don't lose her. We cannot have you be depressed because we're going to take New York. And if you lose her, you'll be a very depressed person. You won't be able to do your job. So don't lose her, Gavin. But Gavin, for his outstanding leadership, along with Lee Zeldin, who did a fantastic job. It was a great run. And he's endorsed us very early, a long time ago, and he's a fantastic guy. And the entire executive committee of this storied organization. With crime at record levels and hundreds of thousands of people living on the sidewalks and streets, and with illegal aliens invading our city and state like nobody thought possible. Did anybody think this was even possible? I believe we have a great chance of winning New York, Rudy. I think we have a great chance. Greatest mayor in our history. Greatest mayor in our history. By the way, his crime, when he took over New York, the crime was almost as bad. I can't be worse than this, Rudy, can it? I want to say it was worse, but I don't think it can be worse than this. You're going to have to tell me about that. But it was bad. And he and the man sitting right next to you, very special. Stand up, Bernie. Stand up, Bernie.
Rudy Giuliani cleaned up New York City after Dinkins and Koch.
I pardoned Bernie, and he was very emotional when I did it, right? I didn't know he cried. I never thought he cried when he was a little baby, but he was very emotional. And now Bernie is cleaner. This is the expression they say. I never quite understood it. Than a newborn baby's ass. Did you ever hear that? I don't know what that means exactly, but that's what they say. But you are. You're the cleanest person in the room. We're going to get Bannon there, too. He's pretty close. But Lee Zeldin, all of you people that have been so incredible, and everyone in the room, we are going to give all the resources that you need. We have a lot of resources. You know,
Yes,
we take
pardon
in
everybody
millions and millions of
January
dollars
6th,
a week
everyone.
from people. Average $61. Can you believe that? $61. And we're taking in numbers that nobody's ever seen before. That's like a poll. When you think of it, that's like a poll, isn't it? But we're going to give you all the resources you need, Gavin and Lee and everybody that's working on it. And Rudy, you have to work. You know, they love you in this city, Rudy. They love you. They love you. And if we win New York, and likewise, we're going to put a heavy play on New Jersey, Virginia, and a few other states that people say, gee, I don't know if you can win. Then we win the election very easily, very, very easily. If we win New York, it will counter all of the cheating that will go on because we have to catch them. And we have a congressman sitting right there who's got his eye on it. And I want to thank a lot of senators that are here tonight, but a couple in particular, U.S. Senator J.D. Vance, a friend of mine. He's done a great job. I endorsed him. He went from 5th place to 1st place, and he's been a really tremendous senator. And another one that I was really honored to endorse and help, and he's been an incredible senator, and I got to listen to part of his speech. Roger Marshall, he's been fantastic. Roger, thank you. Great speech, by the way, Roger. You are a good speaker. I know that from impeachment hoax #1 and impeachment hoax #2. I said, who's that guy? He's made some good speeches. That's why I liked you. That's why we have that relationship. Very special that you did that. But thank you very much for everything. You really have done a great job. Thank you. Also, Representative Corey Mills. Thank you, Corey. Stand up. Mike Collins. Thank you, Corey. Mike Collins, wherever you may be, Mike. You know, they say there's 2,500 people here. There's about 5,000 people outside. Paul Gosar. Paul, thank you very much. Paul, good job, Paul. And Paul has to fight his very liberal family all the time. I don't know. But Paul wins. And you heard the real Matt Gaetz tonight. That's the real Matt Gaetz, right? Man. That was great, Matt. You know, they have a big deal going on at Mar-a-Lago right now. They have 1,000 people for a friend of yours. You know what's happening. They all think you and I are supposed to be there. But we're very happy being right here for Gavin and Lee and everybody else. And Ginger, you are such a good addition. You're keeping him grounded. It's so nice to see this.
Imagine you're at
But you are
Mar-a-Lago and you're thinking
really a
that Trump's supposed to
fantastic
be
woman,
there, but he's
very
somewhere
smart
else.
woman.
That's funny.
Another one who has done an unbelievable job. I watched her run over the head of Harvard, the head of Penn, the great old Wharton School of Finance.
That was great to watch.
Elise Stefanak. Elise. Thank you, Elise. What a job she's done. You know, I watched the way she's very smart. I watched the way she was asking the questions, and they were asked in a very complex way. And these women, who I guess are smart, but boy, they were really dumb answers, weren't they? But they were asked in a very complex way, and these people had no idea what the hell they were doing. I said, you know, I think she's got to lose her job. I guess they're all going to be losing their job within the next day or two. But
hopefully.
One down, two to go. But there's many more out there like that, and I don't get it. I don't know why there would be. A special person is in this room tonight because former Mayor Rudy Giuliani did the greatest job. He was the greatest mayor in the history of this city. It was safe. It was prosperous.
It's amazing, man. And it's amazing how many people
Right,
even
Rudy.
witnessed how he cleaned up New
Special
York.
guy. And he fought like hell. And by the way, did a hell of a
How
job.
they treat
Out
him
there,
now.
he was fighting. And he'd go and see legislatures. And he'd go to, like, the different legislatures and talk to legislators. And he would be, I mean, he was incredible. And he'd leave, and they all agreed with him 100%. But then courts would hold them back because judges didn't have the courage to do what they should have done. But Rudy is a warrior. He's a brave guy. He's a brilliant man. And he's been our friend. And there's nobody like him, really. There's nobody like him. When I see what's happened to the city in such a short period of time, it's very sad. But thank you. And you happen to have a great son who's a friend of ours named Andrew. Where is Andrew? Don't play golf with Andrew. He's too good. Andrew's a great golfer, too. Andrew's a great, great young guy who really ran a very good race. You know, when he announced, a lot of people weren't thinking you were going to get the numbers you got. And then immediately he went over with Lee, and they worked together beautifully. It was a beautiful thing to see, Andrew, and thank you very much. Also, former New York City Police Commissioner, when we had real safe city. We had a real safe. Bernie, stand up again, please. Thank you, Bernie. Great job. New York City Council member, Ina Verenkopf. Where is Ina? Where is Ina? Where are you? I want to see Ina. I hear so much about her. I read so much about her. Is she still there? What the hell is she doing so far back? Come up here. I want to see you. Come up here. I'm reading all about her and how incredible. You do a great job. I think, are you the only Republican still on City Council? Just come here. Don't fall. Joe Biden has taught us it's not good to fall. Thank you, darling. Oh. That's why I wanted to see her. Beautiful job. Great job. Very popular. Very, very popular. Bo Hines is here. He's going to be a congressman very shortly. Bo Hines, thank you. D.C. Drano. Where's Rogan? Rogan O'Handley. Where is Rogan? Oh, he's so good to me. Thank goodness he's on my side. Oh, man. I would hate to have D.C. against me, right? But Rogan, thank you very much. A great, special guy. J.R. Majewski, somebody that the deep state did some really bad things to, but we stuck by him. We stuck by him, and J.R., where's J.R.? What a job. We're on. What a job. Well, it shows perseverance works, right? You know, he backed me. He took a tractor. He had a sign, Trump, 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 all over the fields of your beautiful state, and you've been totally exonerated. You told the truth, and they played dirty pool, but you'll get a second shot, right? You're going to get a second shot. Great job. What they did to you was very unfair. A man who's been a friend of mine for a long time. He looks fantastic. He just had his 49th birthday, and he's looks much younger than that, actually. I don't know how the hell he really looks so much better than 49. And, you know, I have to tell him about the meeting. Should I tell him, Steve, real fast? So we had a meeting when I was looking bad. We had one of the 29 or 30 inescapable things that happened, you know. We had the John McCain incident. That I want to see the one who wasn't caught. We want the one who wasn't caught. And people said, sir, that doesn't work. And that was fine. But we had a lot of inescapable situations, but probably the biggest inescapable one was the one we know about, Steve, right? So it doesn't matter what one, because I don't want to exactly bring it up, but we had a group of people around in my apartment, and it looked like it was in trouble, and we went through a list of very well-known Republicans. What do you think we should do? Sir, one said, sir, I think you should resign, and this is in the middle of the campaign. I already got the nomination. This is like in October. I think you should resign, sir, and I think we should appoint either Mike Pence or somebody else. How about that one? And maybe, he said, and maybe they'd have a chance of winning. I went to the next. We had about 10 people. Went to the next. Sir, I don't think you'll be able to make it, sir. I went to one person who said something that was so horrible. They said, sir, you can stay in and have the single greatest defeat in the history of politics, or you can get out, we'll appoint a Republican to take your place, and maybe that person will have a chance of winning. And we went through like this, and then I got to Steve Bannon. I said, Steve, so what would you say we should do? It's a true story. This is a true story. I said, so Steve, what would you say I should do? You should stay in, sir. You're going to win this race 100%. He's the only guy. Sure.
So how is he duller, Neil? He just told a story that no one probably ever heard before. So
100%.
he's repeating himself. Why are you even fucking here? DeSantis?
True story.
Who stabbed him in the back, who has no chance of winning the presidency?
He said 100%. I said, that guy's the greatest bullshit artist I've ever heard. I don't know if he believed it, but boy, did he say it. And he was
a guy who never would have become governor.
I think
if it wasn't
he was
for Trump.
convinced. Steve, did you really believe that?
You friggin' moron.
He said, yes, I believe him. But he was the only one in the room, right? And then I made my decision. I said, look, here's the way I look at it. If I get out, it would be historic. It'll be the only time anyone's ever gotten out before a race after getting the nomination in a landslide. I mean, we wiped them out. We started with 18, and every week, 1 out, 2 out, 3 out. And it was a great campaign. And we were doing really well, but this one particular event came up, and I said, you know, if we get out, it's historic. If we don't get out,
can't
we
even
lose.
fix insurance.
If we lose, we lose.
In Florida.
Realistic, it could happen.
He got
right?
talked into running against
it's
Trump.
Not that big. It's big. It's horrible.
Instead of waiting his turn,
it's
and he would have been
historic.
perfectly fine.
Because
I mean,
somebody always loses a little
I mean,
bit,
it's
right?
a joke. The fact
I
that
didn't
anyone
like the
even would
concept
support
of it,
DeSantis
but
for president.
the other was much. So I said, we'll stay in. And did we kick ass after that, right? And you know, probably have to go a little further because they seem to be enjoying this, Steve. We could go on about this one, but you know, the next day, or very shortly thereafter, we had the
DeSantis
debate.
can't even beat Nikki Haley.
Starring crooked Hillary Clinton, who I don't call crooked anymore because I use the name now for Biden. Now we call her beautiful Hillary. She's a beautiful woman. Now I want to use that name because it's more appropriate. I like.
He has no
which
turn
is better,
now. He's
Sleepy
done.
Joe or Crooked Joe? I like Crooked better.
What do you like better? Ready? A poll, a free poll. Crooked Joe or Sleepy Joe?
Mix them together, crooked and sleepy.
I may have to change it back. But I went onto that stage just a few days later, and a general who's a fantastic general actually said to me, sir, I've been on the battlefield. Men have gone down on my left and on my right. I stood on hills where soldiers were killed. But I believe the bravest thing I've ever seen was the night you went onto that stage with Hillary Clinton after what happened. And then that woman asked you the first question about it. And I said, locker room talk. It's locker room talk. What the hell? What are you talking? Locker room talk.
Neil, you're just talking about yourself.
That
man.
was not a great.
Anyone that
And
uses
I
that
dropped
word
11
is
points.
they themselves a cultist.
11 points, and then after the debate, I went up 13 points. You remember that? I went boom, boom. It looked like somebody with a really bad heart. It went like this, bing, bing. It was a little gap. In fact, to this day, people say, what the hell was this event? I can tell you, but we won't get into it. But that was an incredible event, but it was an incredible campaign.
Neil is one of those guys
who
he repeats the same thing that he hears on CNN and MSNBC.
And now they're starting to say,
to call everybody
the
else a
Washington Post
cultist
had
when he himself is
11 points
actually a
up.
cultist. It's projection.
And they said this is an outlier. They paid $1.5 million
People who support
for
Trump
a poll.
just want the right
and they
thing.
said their own
want
poll
law
is
and
an
order.
outlier.
They
I
want
said, this is
normalcy.
so then they had
People
it
like Neil
rechecked,
just
and
in
it turned
here
out
just
to be 12
'cause he's
points. You
crazy.
know
He's a
that. They haven't
psychopath.
announced it.
And he has nothing better
So
to
we're
do on
going
a
to give it a
Saturday night
shot.
to come and call us cultists.
I'll tell you what. I've never seen enthusiasm.
Are you
like
even
I've seen
are
right
you even
now.
a
There's
DeSantis
never been
fan?
enthusiasm. You know,
Or
we
are you
did,
just a friggin' nerd that comes on and just wants to annoy people?
we did great with one. We did better with two. But there's never been anything like this. And Gavin, I will tell you, in writing down, and I was just
I don't know if you
asking
watched the
Secret
debate,
Service,
but so did
how the
DeSantis.
hell
He
do they know I'm in the car?
regurgitated
Because
a
we have
bunch of
windows
stuff,
this
too,
thick.
saying how
They're,
wonderful
like,
he was.
really good.
But unfortunately, he hasn't done a very good
guys
job for
walking up
insurance
to
in
that
Florida.
thing, if they held a little thing, I'd say, go ahead, shoot. You know what happens? The bullet bounces back and kills them. That's what I got him. They say, I got this guy. I got him. Go ahead and shoot. Here I am. Shoot. Bing, bong. That's the end. The windows of that thing. You know, and by the way, it's a Saturday night. There's not a lot to do. So we'll stay here for a while. Do we agree? And another person who's a warrior, she happens to be a beautiful woman, but I never think about that because I never talk about beauty. To me, I can see the most beautiful woman in the world. It doesn't register with me at all. Beauty doesn't matter. But she's beautiful, but she's a great lawyer. And she's been a tremendous protector of a lot of very important people, and she's done an incredible job, and she has tremendous courage. You know, I have these high-priced lawyers, and they're fine, but they go out and I say, go speak to the press. And, you know, you have these animals out there. Oh, there they are, right up there. Whoa. You have these animals out there. They're vicious animals. And these high-priced guys, you know, they're beautiful guys, nice, beautiful suits, everything, nice pay, a lot of money to these people. Go out and speak to the press. Sure, I'd rather not. And she goes, I'll do it. And she goes out there. She's fierce. She's a fierce person. And we appreciate it. Alina Haba. Alina. She says, I'll do it, sir. I'll do it. And she goes and she makes the news every night. She makes the news every night, screaming at these maniacs. Alex Brusewitz, who has been incredible. Where's Alex? I want to see him. Alex Brusewitz. Where are you, Alex? Thank you. What a job you've done between you and D.C. Drano and Alex Stein. And Jack. Where's Jack? Where's Jack? Where is he? Jack, I want to see you. Great job, Jack. Thank you. What a job you do. You know, we have an incredible thing. We're always talking about the fake news and the bad, but we have guys, and these are the guys who should be getting Pulitzers. You know, we're suing the Pulitzer Organization, and we're suing them because they gave the Pulitzer Prize to people that reported on fair and accurately Russia, 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 but it turned out to be totally false. And even they admit now it was a scam. So
DeSantis' wife, by the way, was telling everybody, all the Republicans, to vote in the Iowa caucus, by the way.
They haven't got a response. We're saying,
DeSantis
we're
is not
demanding
winning.
that the Pulitzer Prize be taken away from these people that got it because they were wrong. The ones that should get it are also here, many of them. And they're incredible people, and they should get it, and we want them to get it. And we also want damages because great damage was caused by their bad reporting. Raheem Kassam. Raheem. Where is Raheem? What a good job you do. Thank you, Raheem. Great job. Scott Pressler. Fantastic. Thank you, Scott. And, of course, Kash Patel. Thank you, Kash. Great job. Get
Nikki
ready,
Haley
Cash.
is
Get
part of
ready.
the military-industrial
All of
complex.
you guys get ready. Paul and
She
Gracia, thank you
is
very much.
one
You've
of the
been
worst
fantastic.
ones. She would be
What
deep
a
state
writer.
in
Thank
the
you.
uniparty.
Thank
She
you.
would be a terrible
What a
president,
job.
and she has no chance
And
of
all of
winning
the
either.
countless other distinguished guests that we have here. We have too many to go through, but I wanted to mention a few, and they're really incredible people, and they're very brave people, and they're very great patriots. 11 months from now, each of you will vote in the most important election of your lives. It's the most important election. I used to say 2016 was the most important election, but this is far more important. You know, we had a border problem in 2016, but it was minor by comparison to this. And I ran the campaign on the border, and I won. But this is far greater. And in 2020, I kept saying to my people, I want to talk about the border. They said, sir, we don't have a problem. You straightened it out. I said, that's good. I want to tell them that. He said, nobody wants to listen to that, sir. You straightened it out. We had a great border. I couldn't even talk about it. Now, the border crisis is the worst in history. There's never been any border like this from any country. So this election will decide whether your generation inherits a fascist country or a free country, whether you have the rule of tyrants or the rule of law, whether America will be destroyed by crooked Joe Biden and his goons, or whether we, the people, will make America great again. Make America great again. Which I think is the greatest phrase in the history of politics, don't you think? No, I think so. Ronald Reagan had, let's make America great. So it was different. Somebody said, oh, but Ronald Reagan. No, he didn't. He didn't. Number one, it wasn't a big deal with him. But he had, let's make America great, which is okay. But make America great again. How powerful is that? MAGA. MAGA. I tell that to Biden. I say,
Yeah, Nikki Haley was
when he gets up,
selected
we've got to
to the
stop the
UN.
MAGA
Then
extremists.
she came out
Yeah.
and worked for Boeing,
I'm
making
extreme
millions
about
of dollars.
making America great again.
Donald
Right?
Trump made mistakes in his first term. There is no question about that.
They can't get away. They
Especially
can't get
somebody
away.
who was
Such a
never
great-
president before.
You know, we almost
Second
changed
time
it
around,
to
he's not going to
CAG.
make
You
that
know
same
that.
mistake.
Because we had
Because
America
somebody like Kash
great.
Patel, for example,
we
is going to be the
so
head of
great.
the
We had the
CIA.
greatest economy, all the things. And so I had another one, keep America great. But somehow it never registered the same way. MAGA
People like Steve
is the
Bannon, people
greatest
like Kash Patel,
phrase, I think, in
Rudy
the history of
Giuliani.
politics, anywhere.
they're not choosing the same
You
people.
know, I tell the
next go
story
around.
that Pat Buchanan, who's a wonderful guy, a great conservative guy, and he became a very famous political pundit, did great. He had a wonderful life, and he's still, you know, I think he's around, and he's an older guy right now, but he had a wonderful life. On doing
DeSantis
well
would be
in New Hampshire.
controlled.
did
He would
well
be
in New
told who to
Hampshire.
pick
We won 50 states.
because he got
Think of it,
bullied
last
and
time we
controlled
won
into
50
running for
states.
president.
We won 32 states in the election, but we won 50 states. We probably
He would
won
have been
50 states in the
guaranteed
election,
the
too,
presidency
but we
if he
won't
waited
get
it
into
out.
that. But think of it. This is the greatest movement in history.
I mean, it's
When
not.
you
It's
look
not even an
outside and you
argument.
see
It's not even
thousands of
arguable
people.
at all.
When you see
it's
us
not a
coming
dispute.
down, I was about to say they couldn't see. The people were going wild. Somebody in my car said,
Vivek Ramaswamy
you can
ran a
win
pump and
New
dump
York.
scheme
The people are going wild. And I said, how do they know it's even
with
me in the car?
Ativan, a drug
Because
that
you
he
can't
bought
tell.
from GlaxoSmithKline. That's a whole
And the
different
people
story.
are
I don't
going
trust Vivek
crazy.
Ramaswamy
They're
as far as I
waving
can throw
and,
him.
you know, giving you all sorts of fist pumps and everything. I'm telling you, this is a place that can be won, and we have the team to do it. For 4 straight years, our
Well, I'm glad,
opponents
Neil,
have
that
been
you listen
waging
to
an
Bannon.
all-out war
I
on
would hope that you
American
think he's a smart
democracy.
guy. He's probably one of the
They
smartest
tried to
men out there.
overthrow the duly elected president. Thank you very much. With one hoax, witch hunt, and abuse of power after another, one after another, right? All of the different things. Mueller, we had Mueller to take care of. We had more than anybody. And
My
think
Pillow
of it,
guy.
we had all of that going on. And
He's a
still,
little
people,
wacky.
I was reading today, some people, many people consider this to be one of the greatest presidencies. All of the many things we did. Greatest tax cuts in history, rebuilt our military,
The
defeated
way things
ISIS,
are going, Neil, you're probably
Space
right.
Force.
It wouldn't. the
We
way
did
things are
so
going.
much. We became energy independent. We were soon going to be energy dominant. Then they rigged and stole the election of 2020. And since Biden got in, he has been weaponizing government against his political opponents like a raging third world tyrant. That's what he's been doing. He looks like an innocent guy. I actually don't really know that it's him, because I know the people that surround him. I think it's them, and he's a perfect vessel. He's so good. They love him because he has no idea what the hell he's doing. He has no idea where he is. He can't put 2 sentences together, and he can't get off a stage. He can never find his way off the stage. You know, like this stage has a stair there, a stair here, a stair there, or you could jump off the, front. The guy can't. But to show you how dishonest the press is,
I mean, we watched
until I
election night.
got indicted, I was pretty nice to him because I have great respect for the office of the presidency. You don't mind if I go off teleprompter, Steve? So much better.
And by the way, Elaine, I think Vivek wants.
Because I have so much respect for the office. So I wasn't really hitting him. In fact, some
in the
people said you
cabinet,
could hit
which
him
I
harder. I
would
said,
support,
no,
but not
he's
VP,
president. I don't want
and
to hit him
certainly
that
not
hard.
president.
And once I got indicted the first time, and then the second, third, fourth, and then they were going to do 2 more, and they called in, we're going to indict this guy into office. Stop, don't do him. Don't do him. And I could be indictment proof right now. I don't think they can do it, Sid. I don't think they can do it. But they stopped it. They heard about it. I think they sent their biggest people. Don't do it! Local DAs, all controlled by the White House. Local attorney generals, state attorney generals. And what's happened is, since the indictment, the gloves are off. It's just, you know, you can't do any worse than this. I got indicted, first time in history. First time in history. And I always say Al Capone, the greatest of them all, gangster, Scarface, he'd kill you. He'd kill you, Mr. Congressman, if he thought you was smiling at the table. If you were smiling at him in a way that he thought was mocking, because he was, you know, a nasty person, he would kill you. He would kill many, many people. He was probably the greatest gangster of them all. He got indicted one time. I got indicted 4 times. Scarface. Not a very nice person. But many people that are, you know, major criminals, very few have had an honor of being indicted 4 times. I'll tell you one thing, I'm the first guy that ever got indicted whose poll numbers went up.
So this is all, and by the way, what
That's
he's
a-
discussing, and to me it's not funny.
Who the
it's
hell gets
selective
indicted,
prosecution,
Matt?
it's prosecutorial
And their poll numbers
misconduct.
went up, and I don't mean went up, I mean like a rocket
it
ship,
is,
because the people get it. They
election
get it.
interference.
But crooked
There's
Joe
no
Biden's
reason
banana republic ends on November 5th,
other than
2024.
election interference and prosecutorial misconduct that he's been indicted, that he's been
And you've been
harassed.
seeing what's going
it's
on. In the
lawfare.
past few weeks, the radical left Democrats and their fake news allies have unveiled their newest hoax that
And
Donald
none of these
J.
people,
Trump and the
they should all
Republican
lose their
Party
law
are a threat
licenses,
to
and they should
democracy.
actually,
Do you believe it?
they should serve jail time for what they're doing.
Can you believe it?
including
This
the
is their new
judges.
line, you know.
Engoron should serve
Here we
jail
go again.
time.
Russia, Russia,
if he has a law
Russia.
license, he
Mueller,
should be
Mueller,
removed.
Ukraine,
He should
Ukraine.
never be a judge ever again.
One hoax after another. How about Pfizer? They don't talk about the fake Pfizer report signed. And so bad, right? Signed.
Same with the prosecutors.
But no, I'm not a threat. I will save democracy. The threat is crooked Joe Biden. That's the threat.
This is all
And they think that the threat
malicious
to
prosecution
democracy,
coming from
and
the
that's what it
DOJ,
is. It's a hoax. It's
who's
a
run
new,
by
we call it
Biden,
now,
or the Biden
the
handlers.
threat to democracy hoax. Because that's what it is.
And
These guys are so
Bannon,
good with misinformation.
I don't think is ordering people who to
disinformation.
vote for.
It's a slight difference,
But
you know.
who else is
you know
there?
that's it, right? There is a slight
I mean,
difference.
you're a
If you want, we
DeSantis
can
fan,
talk
so
about it, but let's
that
not bore
you
the
think that
audience.
that's a choice. It's really not.
Misinformation. You know that, Bannon?
So the only one
Misinformation and
to
disinformation.
choose at this
It's
point right now is Donald Trump.
It's
That's
like
it.
all of the prisoners that are coming out from all over the world in jails.
Everybody makes themselves in
prisons.
politics the
So
center
people
of
say,
the conversation. They
Why
all
do you
do.
say jails and prisons?
I'm not a
Because
fan
there
of his
is
ego.
a slight difference.
But that's
Well, there's also a
emotional.
difference
You're
in
basing
this and
your
this, right?
decision making on an
And
emotion.
all of these hoaxes, and
Either
all of
does
them
the
have
right
been
thing or
created.
not.
This is all they do well. They are sick people. They don't care about our country. They should spend the time on China, screwing us on trade. And we would have the greatest country. We would have the strong. If they use that genius, that sick genius, they could do some wonderful things, but they don't because they're sick. They think the threat to democracy hoax will save Biden from having created the worst inflation in our country's history, a fragile economy that may soon end in a depression, much like 1929. Have you heard that before? You watch. We are very, very close to a depression, the likes of which you have never seen. We owe $36 trillion, and this guy has no clue. And you know that Mitch McConnell gave him $10 trillion for them to hand away like candy. He's almost, I could say, and maybe he is worse than any of them, that he allowed them to have votes. He needed 10 votes, 12 votes. He needed different votes. He gave them many times votes. You add it up, it's close to $10 trillion. And they go and they hand it out like candy. And it's the one thing they can say. And the only reason they got it is because Mitch McConnell and his little gang of people gave it to him. And it's a disgrace to the Republican Party, and it's a disgrace to our nation. Disgrace.
Citizens don't have a choice
But I have to be careful when
because
I say
they
that
don't
because
want
Matt
us
Gaetz
to vote
is a
for
big,
Donald
big
Trump,
fan
and that's
of
why
Mitch
they're
McConnell.
trying to put him in jail. citizens do have a choice if they're able to vote for Donald Trump.
Love him. You love
That's the point.
Mitch, I don't know. He seems to be checked
So
out now. He seems
they
to
are
be
trying to
checked
take
out.
away
I hope the hell he
people's
gets
right
out
to
of there.
vote for Trump, who the citizens want
And the other thing I'll
overwhelmingly.
do that nobody else would be able to do or even think about
So-
is we will not have a World War III under President Trump. But you might very well have one under what's happening now.
So your
And if
argument
this
doesn't hold
happens,
water.
this will be a war like no other war. This will be a war the likes of which this world has never seen because of modern-day weaponry. I mean, think about it. In Hiroshima, we've all seen it many times, and Nagasaki, just think about it. Multiply that explosive power times 500, Mr. Congressman, 500. And that's the kind of power we're talking about. This would be a war like nobody's ever seen, probably obliteration. Biden is the real threat to democracy for two simple reasons. He's corrupt and he's incompetent, grossly incompetent. But we have to fight Democrat misinformation at every corner if the Republican Party is to survive. I mean, they're trying to end this party. Not going to happen, by the way, but they're trying. We're not going to let that happen. And much more importantly, if our country survives, our country's in trouble. We're not
What I said
respected,
before
we're not
was
listened to.
Trump didn't make good
3
choices
years
with
ago,
who he surrounded
we were more
himself
respected,
with.
I believe, than this country
The
has
second
ever
go
been.
around, he's
I
going to
would
make
call these
much
guys,
better
I would get whatever
choices
the hell
when
I
he's
wanted
in.
from them. I didn't have to even make trips. Presidents, you
Trump is not
respected your
without
president and he respected our country.
Issues
Now they
that
laugh
he
at us,
made
they
and
lecture
errors
us
that he
about
made in
all
selecting
sorts of things.
people.
They would have never done that with me. But
That comes from not being
it's
in
so
politics
sad when I see
at
what's
all.
happened to our country. We're no longer a leader in the world. And you know, when they talk about Ukraine,
Once
we
again,
put up
going back to
$200
why it
billion
is we need somebody like
to
him,
European
who
nations
is
who are
not part
approximately the
of
same
the
size as our
uniparty deep
economy when
state.
added up, are in for 18. Why doesn't somebody say equalize like I did with NATO? I said, you have to pay your bills. And I took in $400 billion. Just like with Russia, the radical left communists, Marxists, fascists, they're always accusing us of exactly what they themselves are doing. It's what they do best. It's really what they do best. They're bad on borders. They're horrible on
Technically,
policy.
it's not a second
They want high
chance.
taxes.
Technically, it's the
They're really
continuation
bad
of
on
the
everything
presidency
except
that should
for
have
cheating on elections, which
remained
they're
if the
perhaps
election wasn't stolen.
one of the most brilliant
So-
groups of people in history. Every abuse of power, the fake news is ridiculously claiming I will commit is, in fact, being committed
You're making
by
an
Crooked
argument for
Joe and
DeSantis who
his
can't even get it
thugs.
straight. Can't even
They're
finish out
trying
his
to
term in
lock up
Florida.
their
Can't even
political opponents. They
get
want to lock
insurance
up
fixed in
their
Florida.
political opponents, in particular me. Thank you
and
very
stab
much.
Trump in the back. And the only
honor.
reason he ended up becoming
They're trying to criminalize
the
free
governor of
speech
Florida
and take
was because of
total
Trump.
control over the
And that's your
American
guy?
people. But then I came along
I mean,
and I'm
just
standing in their
nonsensical.
way,
It's
and now
completely
millions of
nonsensical that
Americans
you're
are
actually
joining us.
supporting him.
Millions and millions are joining the Republican Party.
After Trump, I could understand it. Not now.
We've never raised so much money, and you know who's giving us the biggest share of the money? People that are paying $61 on average apiece. Think of it. Not the people that are giving us millions and millions of dollars, but the people that are paying $61. There's never been anything like it. The only one.
Okay, then the
it's not
same as
even close.
this should have is the same with
Bernie,
DeSantis.
crazy
then
Bernie.
the
Bernie
argument then your
had a
argument
little
goes
thing going.
towards
I remember
DeSantis
when
as
he
well.
had his rallies, and if he
So-
had 2,000 people, they used to say, "This rally is massive.
Based on your logic,
it's
neither one
unbelievable."
is qualified.
And I'd have a rally down the street. We'd have 35,000, and they'd
One
say,
can't even run a
Trump's
state
giving a rally today.
properly.
They always used to talk about how big his rally. Remember, Steve? Bernie would have 1,500 people. This is a magnificent crowd.
Make your argument for DeSantis.
I'd give one
other than-
35,000
are you-
people.
Is the
Trump had a rally
DeSantis
too.
campaign paying you to even say these
These
things?
people, they are the
Or are
most
you
dishonest
legitimately
people
a fan of
anywhere in the
DeSantis?
world.
And
They're
what
the
is
fake
it about
news,
him that
fake
makes him so
news.
great?
They
You
are
haven't
fake.
said one thing so far.
One of our better terms. We've had a lot of good names. I think fake news is one of the best. The only problem is it's not tough enough because they're much worse than fake. They're fake and they're corrupt There are a lot of terms, but somehow fake seems to have stuck, so let's leave it that way. Poll numbers reveal that Black, Hispanic, Asian, and just about everybody else want to join the Republican Party right now. Because the Republican Party is the American dream, not the Democrat Party of open borders, chaos,
but who else
uniform
is there?
laughter. They laugh at us all over the world. The world is laughing at us. Can you imagine President Xi? I have to say, the press gets very angry when I call him a brilliant person. If I say he's brilliant, the next day article.
Who else is there other than
President
Trump?
Xi a brilliant person? Yeah, he controls 1.4 billion people with an iron fist. They want me to say he's just of average intelligence. Okay, but the look, the whole thing. He stands in front of 1 million soldiers. They walk by, and they want me to say bad things. Can't say
By the way,
bad
I'm
things.
skipping all the ads so you
But
guys
can
can
you
watch
imagine
this.
guys like this, Putin, many of them, even like France, Macron, you know, he's a tricky little guy.
Hey Neil, why don't you hit the super chat?
No, but they're all sharp. How about Kim Jong-un? He's got more nuclear missiles. I say, can you do anything else? Let's go to a ball game or something. Do you
You get
ever?
involved all the time. You might as well.
And we became very friendly, and they hate when they say that. You know, when they hear, well, we
Put something
started
in
off
that
very
super
rough.
chat,
Steve
Neil.
was there, remember? Little Rocket Man. He's Little Rocket Man. He said, I have a red button on my desk. And I said, I have a red button too, but mine's bigger and mine works, right? And you know, we had a meeting. When we had a meeting, it was in Singapore. It was the biggest press gaggle anyone's ever seen. There must have been 10,000 there when I met with Kim Jong-un, because he was getting ready to blow up the world. And I wanted to give it a shot to stop him, you know. When Obama, you know, when you sit, before you take office, you sit with the president. I said, so tell me, what's the biggest problem? He said, North Korea is the biggest problem by far. Remember that, Steve? He said the biggest part. I mean, there's nothing you can do. He's got a lot of nuclear weapons, and I think he's willing to use them. I said, have you called him? No. But actually, he did call him. He called him 11 times, and it wasn't responded to, because they didn't respect that group of people. They just didn't respect him. But I was back and forth, and they were nasty. I was calling him Little Rocket Man, and he was calling me things. And I was saying horrible things about him. And people were actually getting very angry about it, remember? And then one day, like a miracle, I get a call that North Korea would like to meet. I said, that sounds good. And because of that, South Korea was having the Olympics, remember? In the Seoul Olympics. They sold no tickets to the opening event or any other event because nobody wanted to be blown up in the middle of an event, watching the high jumpers. Watching the men that entered women's sports. They didn't want to watch. So this Seoul Olympics was a disaster. But about 3 months before that, I got a call that they want to meet. And I said, great, and we met. And they said, not only are we going to be friends, me and him, and we are. We get along great. We get along great. I mean, I think I saved the nuclear war, actually, if you want to know the truth. Because he expected to go to war. He actually expected it. He expected to go to war. I mean, he was okay with it. I mean, this guy's got more stuff. Did you ever see the picture of him with the howitzers on the beach where he must have had 10,000 shooting into the ocean? Do you think he got an environmental impact statement done for that, Steve? Remember, he had thousands of howitzers. This isn't nuclear. This is his little side game. He loves weapons. Thousands of them on the beach. I never saw anything like it. Shooting shells into the ocean. And immediately I think of our country because we're such fools. Did he get an environmental impact statement to do? Today, everything we do, John Kerry would never have allowed that. He'd say, this is not, he doesn't want us to use coal anymore. And he goes to China to tell him, please, when you can. They're building 2 coal plants a week. I mean, they must think we are the dumbest son of a bitches in the world. John Kerry. I mean, I don't understand. Because I don't view him as a stupid guy. Is this the biggest con game in the world? I mean, does he really believe this? He goes to China over global warming, which they don't use anymore because it's not getting warmer, it's actually getting a little cooler. So now they call it climate change. Because climate change covers everything. If it gets warm, if it gets cold. Climate change is one of the greatest con jobs ever because global warming didn't work. Because, you know, remember when they sent the boats out to the Arctic, freezing cold, and the scientists were in the boat, a big ship, and they were worried about the icebergs because they were melting, and they had a little cold wave that lasted for about 2 days, and it was so vicious and so cold that the ice formed around the ship and started crushing the ship like it was a little... Remember, we had to send helicopters in to get him. The ship was just engulfed in ice, and they're talking about global warming. So we're destroying our country because these people are going to coal. They don't even do the natural gas thing. And they're doing anywhere from 1 to 2, and these are serious power plants. These are big ones, okay? And we're trying wind. The most expensive energy in history is wind. Second is solar, but I like the concept of solar.
All
but
of this
did you
green
ever see a
energy
big solar
is
thing?
it's called the green
It covers,
industrial
Mr. Senator,
complex.
the entire
It's another
desert.
industrial complex.
You know, like 9 homes will be given. The thing, see the size of this ballroom, multiply times 1,000. And that's solar. And yet we have more liquid gas and oil under our feet, and we don't use it. So unlike... No, we don't use it. We have more than ever. But unlike crooked Joe Biden, I'm running to liberate America. We want to liberate America because we're in a country that's in a lot of pain right now, a lot of hurt. This campaign is a righteous crusade to rescue our nation from a very corrupt political class. They are corrupt, they're incompetent, and they probably hate our country. No longer will the men and women of America pay tribute to the people who threw open our borders, flooded our communities with deadly drugs, sold our jobs to China and other foreign countries, colluded with the big banks, conspired with corporate media, corrupted our government, and unleashed murderers, rapists, and gang members, savages all, to prey on innocent people that walk the streets of our cities. They want Americans to be weak and poor, confused, divided, and afraid. Why they want that, I don't know. It's the only thing I can't figure out. Why they want that, I don't know. If you put me back in the White House, however, their reign will be over and America will be a free nation once again. It'll be a free nation. The media's new threat to democracy and the democracy hoax is a desperate and shameless attempt to distract from the monstrous abuses of power the radical left is committing before your very eyes. Over the past few years, you've watched crooked Joe Biden and his band of lunatics and thugs try to destroy attorney-client privilege. You know, I have a lot of lawyers in this room, and they're always asking me, does it mean anything? I don't think so, because if you're representing like a Republican or a J6 person or somebody else who's totally fine, a parent, there is no such thing as attorney-client privilege. Who could believe that? They've persecuted Catholics and pro-life activists. They've labeled parents at school board meetings as domestic terrorists. They've imprisoned a man for posting an internet meme about Hillary Clinton. Who would want to watch it? Who would want to look at that? Personally, I'd rather look at Ginger, but I'm not going to say that tonight. They've weaponized the IRS against political opponents. They've tried to get me thrown off the ballot with their ridiculous attacks on the 14th Amendment. All 15 lawsuits as of tonight have been successfully rebuffed. All 15. And they flooded our nation with tens of millions of illegal aliens while violently opposing voter ID so that we have no idea who is actually voting. Can you imagine somebody saying, no, no, we don't want voter ID? Why? There's only one reason, because they want to cheat. Who doesn't want voter ID? But we will not let this continue. The next Trump administration will be a great new beginning of American democracy. It will be the rebirth of American freedom, and it will be the return of the American dream. We had that dream going, and going very strongly. Our mission in this race is to win a historic and powerful mandate to take back our nation from the shadow government of corrupt alliances, hidden people. They hide under carpets and rugs, and lawless bureaucrats, mercenaries, propagandists, and scoundrels and spies. What's happened to our country is not believed by many people, like that great New York Republican Teddy Roosevelt. We will restore constitutional government by the people. Starting on Inauguration Day 2025, and you're all going to be with me. We're all going to be in Washington together. The Biden dictatorship will be over, and we are going to bring our country back from hell. We're going to bring it back from hell. And it's in hell right now. On day one, I will break up the Biden administration's illegal censorship machine, and any official who has violated Americans' constitutional rights will be held very, very accountable. Very accountable.
Hopefully they go to jail.
And I make this commitment to you tonight. We will not have Bill Barr as our Attorney General. Is that okay? I promise. He was a coward. He was afraid of being impeached. So how do you not get impeached? I told him, don't be afraid, Bill. I got impeached twice. My numbers went up. Don't be afraid. Sir, they want to impeach me, sir. They want to impeach me. He said, Bill, just relax. Just relax. How do you not get impeached? You know what? You let people know you're not going to look at the election. Okay? You let them know we're not going to look at the election, and you don't get impeached, because the Democrats say, how lucky did we get to get this stiff in that position? I'll also cancel Biden's dangerous artificial intelligence executive order and ban the U.S. We're gonna ban everything having to do. This is a very dangerous period of time, having to do with censoring speech of American citizens. And all of these Biden attacks on democracy and freedom are happening because the radical left Democrats, and they are indeed radical left, look at what's going on. Look at what's going on with Israel. You know, Israel used to be the number one, I wouldn't say lobbyist, but the number one power in Congress. Today, the way AOC +3 talks about Israel is hard to believe, actually, as somebody that's been around for a while and watched. Because the radical left Democrats know that in a fair election fight, they're going to lose in a landslide. You know, they're losing in a landslide right now. People don't realize the poll numbers are coming out, and we're not just beating DeSanctimonious and Birdbrain, we're beating everybody. Some incredible polls came out today that were just incredible. Nobody's ever seen polls like this. Under the Trump administration, we built the greatest economy in the history of the world, with soaring incomes, rising wages, and household net worth hitting the highest level by far in recorded history. And we had everything going. It was the best time in American history to be young and to start a family. When I was president, your 30-year mortgage rate reached an all-time historic low, never been this low, 2.65%. Did anybody get a mortgage in those days?
We'll probably be at 10% before you know it.
And we had gasoline down to lower than $1.87 a gallon.
It's unbelievable how
we are
things have
now.
just turned to absolute
But thanks to
trash.
Crooked Joe today, the American dream is totally dead. Biden and the radical left Democrats spent $12 trillion and caused 3-year inflation of over 20%, the highest inflation in history in most
gotta brag
people's
about the stuff
opinion.
that
As a
he's done.
result, The average 30-year mortgage rate is now 8%.
Biden does it all
but
the
for
time
practical
on Twitter.
purposes, it's 10, 11, and 12%.
very few
But it
things.
doesn't matter what it is because you can't get the money, you can't get a mortgage no matter what you do. The typical family has lost hundreds of thousands of dollars of purchasing. The purchasing power from the American family is gone. It's shot.
Yep.
When buying a home, it's shot. The housing industry is dead. And thanks to Biden's insane Green New Deal, the Green New Deal, which destroys our country, it's destroying our country. Families can't even afford to buy a car. But while Biden has devastated opportunities for young Americans, I will fight for young Americans like no president has ever fought before. And I'm pleased to report that a recent fake news NBC poll, but in this case, I hope it wasn't fake, found that we're winning young Americans, leading Biden 46%, 42%. We're also leading in one case by 11, in one case by 9, in one case by 14, Mr. Congressman. And we're leading in all age groups. We're leading women. I always thought women liked me. You know, they said I didn't do well last time because it's a fake deal. You know, it's all crooked as hell. The elections are crooked as hell. It's a fake deal. They said he's not doing well with suburban women. I think I did very well with suburban women. Why wasn't I? You mean I was keeping low-income housing? I signed an order, no low-income housing in the suburbs next to somebody's house. You mean the people in that house aren't liking me a lot? I think it was a whole con job. I think I did very well with suburban women. But now they're saying that I'm doing well with suburban women. It's no wonder crooked Joe Biden and the far-left lunatics are desperate to stop us by any means because they're looking at the polls. You know what I love? I love when they say, we really want to run against Donald Trump. That's the one we want. How did they do in 2016, by the way? We want Donald Trump. We don't want to run against Ron DeSanctimonious with his high heels and his bobblehead bullshit, you know. No, he looks like a bobblehead doll. I don't like him because I endorsed him and, you know, I got him elected. You told me, exactly. You were on the opposing party's campaign, opposing campaign. But, you know, it's funny.
You got him elected, Neil.
So here's their line. Again, mis and disinformation. We want to run against Donald Trump. And the stupid Republicans sometimes write it. Gates knows this. We want Donald Trump. We want Donald Trump. But they don't want me. They say that because they don't want me, because it's disinformation. And remember, we won in 2016, and the same idiots said we want to run against. You know who didn't want to run against me? Bill Clinton. He told his wife, when she said, we want to run against Donald Trump, he said, no, you don't. Don't run against Donald Trump. No, Bill, I know we were. They didn't listen to him. You know, they threw him off the side. Bill Clinton went out to Wisconsin, and he went to Michigan, and he called in. He said, you better get people out here. You're going to lose Wisconsin. You're going to lose Michigan. They said, what the hell does this guy know? And they lost those two states, and they hadn't lost them in decades. They're weaponizing law enforcement for high-level election interference because we're beating them so badly in the polls. And, you know, one thing about running, I think probably, historically, if they wanted to run against me, they wouldn't have indicted me 4 times. Do you agree? And civil suits also. We don't even talk about them. But these people are slick.
They wouldn't
They're very
care.
slick. You saw Gavin Newsom with no facts. He beat the hell out of Ron DeSanctimonious the other night, and he had no facts. In the Harvard-Harris poll, we're leading the field, just came out today. We're leading the field with 67%. I have 67. While Ron DeSanctimonious has 9%. And Nikki Birdbrain Haley is at 8%.
DeSantis almost lost to Gillum,
You know,
who was
they
basically
keep saying
a meth
that
head,
she's making a charge.
found in a hotel
Steve Bannon, can
in
you help
South
me with
Beach,
this?
passed out.
They're saying that Nikki Haley is making a
barely
charge.
won that election.
You know, like that guy Langone, a big bullshit artist, that he's got the support of Langone. Did he ever put up any money in his life? No. I like
And
Bernie
Vivek
Marcus much
Ramaswamy
better.
wiped the
But
floor
she's making a
with
charge.
him in the last,
But
in
she's
all the debates,
never
pretty
going
much.
up. She doesn't go
He
up.
couldn't even. He
If you
couldn't
make
even
a
stand up to
charge, you're
Vivek-
supposed to go
Vivek
up in the
Ramaswamy.
poll. She's not going up.
He got
In the
he got
Harris
crushed.
X poll, I guess that's probably X referring to what used to be called Twitter. What's that all about? X. I'm going to do an X. Let me put out an X. But in the new X poll, we're at 68%, and DeSantis is at 9%, and Haley's at 7%. Chris Christie doesn't register. Doesn't even register. What the hell is he doing? You know, it's a race to the bottom. It's Ada Hutchinson and Chris Christie are fighting for who's the lowest. What about Ada Hutchinson? He's been at 0 for 6 months. Ada Hutchinson, his name's Asa, by the way. You know, I always like to say that because if I'm sarcastic, the fake news said, he didn't know the governor of Arkansas's. The worst is, there's a new thing going along. So I'm a very sarcastic person, but I do it out of respect and fun and to make a point. So the other day, I'm imitating Biden not getting off a stage, right? So I say, this guy can't even get off a stage. So I purposely, you know, do my thing. You know the way he walks like this? And I go like this. And the fake news put it up as though I couldn't get off the stage. It's true. You saw that, right? They put it up like I couldn't. So I got to be careful. I can't do these things very much because when I imitate, I did one where I'm stumbling. I said, ladies and and they said, look at Trump. He can't talk. He's cognitively impaired. It's disgusting. I can't do anything. There can't be any humor anymore, Steve, because every time I imitate this guy, they say me doing it. And you saw that one, right? They have me not being able to get off a stage. These people are sick. They're bad.
Yeah, Elaine, that's
Baker
actually a
today
good
in
point.
the New York Times.
Here's a guy
He
who has
said,
no
that
upside to
I
debating
want to be a
Gavin Newsom.
dictator. I didn't say that. I said I want to be a dictator
And
for
yet
one day.
he makes the
but
decision
the New York Times
to
said,
debate
and
the
you know why I wanted
California
to be a
governor,
dictator?
which
Because
makes
I want a wall.
No sense whatsoever.
Right? I want a wall,
To
and
a
I want
guy
to drill, drill, drill.
Who's a sociopath.
That's true. So,
And really doesn't care about human beings. Period. He's just he's a legit psycho.
well, we
And
did.
and DeSantis debates him for what?
We built a lot. We built
I
561
mean, it's not hard to
miles. You know what they do?
debate somebody like
there's
Newsom with his record in
A
California.
2x4
Why
that's
would you
70
even
years
bother?
old, laying on the thing, rotting.
That just goes to show you how
and
desperate
I put a wall up
he
there.
is.
They say
for
he
attention,
didn't build that
'cause
wall. That
'cause
was
he's
a
fumbling.
renovation.
His
We
campaign
built
is over. People are fleeing
561
it like
miles
crazy.
of wall, and I was going to build another 200 miles, but when the election was rigged, we couldn't do it. But I built more than I said I was going to build. But they call it not. Somebody said they say it's 200 miles. It's not 200 miles, and it's not 58. If there's a nail
You
laying
still,
in
by the way,
ground,
Neil, you still haven't given
and
one
then we
reason
put up
why
30 foot, going down
DeSantis
7
would
and
make a
going
good
up
president.
30. They say it was a renovation. These are bad people. We're also totally
still
dominating
haven't super
Biden in
chatted
the
like I asked
general
you to.
election, beating him by many, many points. The radical left Democrats rigged the presidential election of 2020, and we're not going to allow them to rig the presidential election of 2024. We're not going to allow it. Not going to happen. Every time radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor. I'm being indicted for you. These are not indictments in the traditional sense. These are Biden indictments against their... This is just against a political opponent. And the press refuses to say. They act like these indictments are legit. They're not legit. And with that, he's opened up a Pandora's box that may never let our country be the same. That's a very bad thing, what they did to me, because this was something that was not doable. But they've opened up a Pandora's box, and I only can say to Joe is, be very careful what you wish for, because what you've done is a terrible thing. When a president leaves, especially a Very popular. I got 75 million votes that they know of. We're not talking about the millions that were played with. Never forget, our enemies want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. It's very simple. Very simple. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me. They're after you. I just happen to be standing in their way.
So,
And you've
Neil,
heard
who
that
do you want for
before.
president?
I mean that 100%.
I mean, you
This is far more than a campaign we're all involved in. This is a great
Who is it
political
that you would
movement.
vote
This
for?
is the greatest political movement
you
in the
all you're
history of
doing
our
is just
country. There's
criticizing,
never
but
been
you're not-
anything
You're not
close.
coming up with any.
Together, we achieved the
anything
most
of
secure
substance.
border in U.S. history.
Who would you vote
We
for?
built, as I said, 561 miles of border wall and got Mexico to give us 28,000 soldiers free of charge. You know when they say Mexico didn't pay? Mexico paid far more. They gave us 28,000 soldiers. I said, you have to give it to us. If you don't give it to us, we're going to have a problem. They said, no, we're not going to give you soldiers. I said, okay, then we're going to tariff all of your products coming into the United States. And they said, sir, it would be our great honor to give you as many soldiers as you'd like. I got it free of charge. So when they tell you about Mexico didn't pay, Mexico paid much more than if they actually contributed to a war, which was a very hard thing to get done legally. Not to get done legally. I took on communist China like no administration in history, bringing hundreds of billions of dollars pouring into our treasury when no other president had gotten even 10 cents from China. I appointed more than 300 federal judges and 3 great Supreme Court justices. And I kept my promise, recognized Israel's capital, and opened up the American embassy in Jerusalem. I also recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, something that nobody thought was possible. And with the Abraham Accords, I even made peace in the Middle East. So we will once again have peace through strength when we become the 47th President of the United States. It's all about peace through strength. Just this week, crooked Joe Biden raised the prospect of American troops fighting Russian troops in an all-out war. I'm the only candidate who can make this promise. You are not going to have any more wars. You don't need wars. We can solve all of these problems. And everyone knows that if we don't solve them, we'll do the same thing to them as we did to ISIS. ISIS was defeated. Nobody thought that was possible, including our wonderful television generals. 3 years ago, we had the strongest border in our history. Now we have the worst. Does anybody know the snake? Has anybody heard the snake? Should we do it or not? What the hell? We have nothing to do. Should we do it? Bannon, should we do it, the snake? So this is about the border. This is about allowing people in that you know there's going to be trouble with. And it was a song. It was an old song. It wasn't meant for this. It was meant for other things. But it's been very popular. Has anyone ever heard it? The snake. It's amazing. All right, you're going to hear it now then. A legendary piece of poetry. On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a
So, Neil,
tender-hearted woman saw a poor,
you're here to just to be a
half-frozen
troll, so you don't
snake.
have really
His pretty colored skin
anything
had been all frosted
to
with the
contribute
dew.
other than
Poor thing, she cried, I'll take you in.
being negative on
And I'll
Donald
take care
Trump.
of
That's why
you.
you're here. So
Take me in, oh tender woman, take me in
but
for
I'm
heaven's
taking it
sake.
as you're a
Take me
leftist.
in, oh tender woman, sighed the vicious snake.
That's pretty much what
She
you
wrapped
are.
him up
so
all cozy in a comforter of silk
you're a Biden
and laid
supporter.
him by her fireside with some honey and some milk. She hurried home from work that night, and soon as she arrived, she found the pretty snake she'd taken in had just survived. Take me in, oh tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, oh tender woman, cried the vicious snake. She clutched him to her bosom. You're so beautiful, she cried. But if I hadn't brought you in by now, you truly would have died. She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed and held him tight. But instead of saying, "Thank you, ma'am," the snake gave her a vicious bite. "Take me in, O tender woman, take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman," sighed the vicious snake. "I saved you," cried the woman, "and you've bitten me, but why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die." "Shut up, silly woman," said the reptile with a grin. "You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in." That's what's happening to our country. That's what's happening to our country. We're taking in people into our country that shouldn't be in our country. Thank you very much. On my first day back,
Well, you won't
in the
answer
White
who
House,
you're
I
gonna
will
vote for.
terminate every open border
So after
policy of
repeatedly
Biden
me
and the
asking
Biden
you,
administration
you know,
and stop the invasion of our country.
who would you vote for
On
in this
Tuesday,
election,
we
you
had
won't
the
answer.
single highest day of illegal border
So
crossings ever
it's
recorded.
blatantly obvious
We had
it's not a,
12,000 in one day, many
I'm
coming out of the
projecting you to
prisons,
be.
many coming out of mental
You
institutions.
can't answer a simple question.
All over the world. In Staten Island recently, 2 elderly World War II heroes and a Korean War veteran were thrown out of their nursing home to make room for these illegal alien migrants. They were thrown out. They were 94 years old. This is just one more reason why, upon my inauguration, we will begin the largest domestic deportation operation in American history. I will immediately restore and expand the Trump travel ban on entry from terror-plagued countries, and I will implement strong ideological screening for all immigrants. And by the way, the travel ban worked 100%. I didn't want to talk about it during my term, but I talk about it now. We didn't have one attack. We didn't have one attack. We were safe. And you know who else was safe? Israel was safe, and Ukraine was safe, and Taiwan was safe. They would have never done it. If you hate America, if you want to abolish Israel, if you want to sympathize with jihadists, then we don't want you in our country, and you are not getting in. You're not coming in. I will terminate crooked Joe Biden's electric vehicle mandate on my first day in office. We want cars that will go far. You will be allowed to buy gasoline-powered cars, hybrids, and also you'll be allowed to buy an electric car if that's what you want. You will have your choice, and you also have your choice on schools. We will have school choice also. You'll have car choice and school choice. We will not force the trucking industry to go electric when everyone knows
I know
that
you're being sarcastic,
it
so,
is
but if you're not,
economically impossible for them to survive. Crime in
you're
our
thinking that I'm
Democrat-run cities is out of control like
trying
never
to
before.
figure out, or I've got you figured
Every
out.
one
Tell me
of them
why
is setting
Ada would be
records
your
in murder
guy.
and violence. Their court systems are
You seem
rigged
to love
against
to
people
type,
like
because I
you
mean, if
and
you look
me.
at the chat, you're the only one
The
doing
whole
it.
world is watching my trial, where I've been proven innocent every day. Every day. They have nothing. Alina knows
Enlighten
that
us on
better than
Ada.
anybody. The case going on right now in New York State Supreme Court is a ridiculous, never brought before case, using a statute against me that has never been used, where a jury is not allowed. I'm not allowed a jury. And where a radical left judge has refused to let go of the case which was brought by the most corrupt attorney general in the United States, working close association with Washington and the DOJ. They're working in very close association. And if it was brought, it should have been brought in the commercial division. This judge would not let it go. I've proven my innocence. Literally every single day we prove total innocence. The clubhouse-appointed, highly partisan judge, who is crazy, ruled violently and viciously against me before he ever knew what the case was about and before we even started the trial. He ruled against me before the trial was started. It should have never gone to court in order to make the case for the racist Attorney General, Letitia Peekaboo James. He had to get the values of my properties down very substantially from the true values. So he stated, as an example, that Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida was worth $18 million, when in fact the real number is anywhere from 50 to 100 times that amount, maybe higher than that. An unassailable expert testified just this week that is worth much more than $1 billion. Another highly respected expert witness in the case testified on Thursday to the Attorney General, "You really ought to be ashamed of yourself for bringing this case against this man." His expert finding after exhaustive research, one of the most respected people in the country, after exhaustive research, is there is no evidence whatsoever of any accounting problems or fraud. There is not a single reference to a violation of any accounting provision. He concluded by saying if Mr. Trump was his student
Mar-a-Lago's worth
at the
$18
Stern
million.
School of NYU, where he's a top professor, one of the most respected people in the school, President Trump would get an A on his financial statements. He would get an A. In over 40 years, he said, "I've never seen a statement that provides so much detail and is so transparent as these statements. These statements also have an ironclad disclaimer clause stating that the user must use his own due diligence and analysis and not rely in any way on the statements." Right there, we win the case, but this guy refuses to acknowledge it. The prosecution's star witness, their only witness, stated on the stand loud and clear, Boris, that he lied. He said he lied. "I lied." It was like Perry Mason. He said he lied. You did a very good job on that, Alina. I'm proud of you. This was like Perry Mason. At the end, "Yes, I did it. I did it." It's always the last 3 minutes. It was like the last 3 minutes, too. He said he lied. He actually said he's the only witness they had. So we asked the judge to dismiss the case, and he said, "No way I'm dismissing." It's a hell of a thing. It's a kangaroo court. This judge couldn't care less. He's out to do a job on all of us, and we cannot let it happen. An appeals court threw out approximately 90% of the case, was thrown out. But this judge openly refuses to honor the appeals court decision as he trudges forward. Facts mean absolutely nothing to him. He cannot wait to render a decision in favor of the crooked Attorney General.
The judge refused to throw out the case
for her
and
current
said
position,
that
and then remember she
he
ran
believes
against
the fairness
our
in the
governor
marketplace
now.
was
She
the
ran for
victim
governor, and she failed,
of
only
Donald
getting
Trump.
a few
The
points in the
fairness
poll. She dropped out.
in the marketplace.
She then went back
You
to
do
the
not
Attorney
have to
General's
be
office
a
stating
lawyer
that
to know
she had
that
something
is
very big to
absurd.
do. You know what the very big is? Me. She's a vicious lunatic. She's an
Trump
incompetent.
should just win
You know,
based
as
on all the
everybody
corruption
knows,
that's being thrown
she
at
was
him.
the one. She sued ExxonMobil in 2019. Letitia James, in a much-watched legal battle. The end result was that Exxon moved out of New York. How do you think that's a good idea? ExxonMobil, one of the biggest companies in the world, left New York and they went to Dallas. Great job, Letitia. And that's what's happening right now. Businesses are fleeing our country. Businesses are leaving this whole horrible system. They're leaving the state. They're leaving our country. Our country has changed so radically. It's business unfriendly, and they're going to other places. But they're fleeing New York State, and no businesses are coming back. Nobody wants to come back into New York State, but they're actually fleeing to other countries. She and the judge are having a great time together as they mock the system and disregard the appellate division's decision with a laugh and with a smile. I've never heard of a case where you win in the appellate division and the judge says, "I don't care. I'm not going to abide by the appellate division." That's what we have. And that would have meant 90% of the case would be won. So all of this while murder and violent crime is taking place right outside of this courthouse. So just to wrap up, I want to say this. We have a sick country. We have, as a couple of you have said, we have a nation in decline, and very, very serious
You're
decline.
acting like it's an actual case.
We're going to run in New York. We're going to run strong in New York. We're going to do things that nobody ever believed. We're going to win New York. We're going to win New Jersey. We're going to win Virginia. And then we're going to win a lot of the states that we're expected to win. And we're going to do a job like nobody's been able to do. And We're going to bring law and order back. We're going to do something that I will say is slightly controversial, but it shouldn't be. We are going to indemnify policemen and precincts and states and cities from being sued. We want them to do their job. Our police and law enforcement has to come back, and they want to come back, and they want to do their job, and we are going to indemnify them so they don't lose their wife, their family, their pension, and their job. We are going to indemnify policemen and law enforcement, and we're going to tell them to get out. We love you. Do your job. So I want to thank everybody. Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you very much. I want to thank everybody for being here. This is a record crowd. This is a record time. We're going to be back in New York a lot. We're going to actively campaign in New York. We are going to win the election. We're going to win this great state, once great state. And with you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. We will rout the fake news media. We will evict Joe Biden from the White House. And we will finish this job of making our country great again, once and for all. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, everybody, other than Neil, what did you guys think of this speech? So I think he made a lot of good points, and you know, again, if he gets elected, the cabinet needs to be completely different from what it has been in the past presidency, and he has to go after these criminals that are doing what they're doing to him right now. I think that people have gotten, I guess, so used to, or the Overton window has shifted so much that it just doesn't even seem to faze them that you have the Biden administration, the people who are running it, that are using lawfare and the court system to go after a political opponent. And that can't be tolerated. And those from January 6th need to be all pardoned. The people that did the prosecuting in January 6th all need to be arrested and tried. Thanks, Elaine. And there needs to be accountability to the lawyers. That right now, I think, ultimately is the biggest issue that we're running into, is that you have, again, prosecutorial misconduct. You have rogue prosecutors, rogue judges. These people are
Give it up for the 45th
using
and the future
lawfare
47th President Donald J.
and need to be
Trump.
punished for it.
Now let's go out and party, guys. That's it.
Let's talk about our friends
guess
over
that's it.
at the Birch Gold Group. Now, this is their most popular special of the year. Now,
Yeah, Liz
through
Cheney, everybody,
December
yeah, that's true.
22nd.
Everybody that was on the January 6th committee needs to be, because obviously we're starting to see now when the tapes start coming out that it was all an inside job. So the Democrats have really done an excellent job at using the legal system to sway an election. And the biggest issue that I see is that there's no accountability, because there's really no, even the American Bar Association is run by severe leftists. And so if the bar associations or whoever it is that regulates, in a sense, I don't know if that's the right term, these attorneys aren't reining them in and saying, look, you can't do that. It's prosecutorial misconduct, but also selective prosecution, in the sense that when you look at what happened to Donald Trump in New York, and they've decided that, and Letitia James ran on the premise that she was going to go after him. Just like the lawyer or the AG that she replaced, he got ran out because of sexual misconduct. But she came in and said, I'm going to go after Donald Trump. That's how she won. What do you mean, Night Vision? I still think he's one of them. You talking about Donald Trump? I'm not sure what you mean. So there are just so many things that are wrong about what's happening with the use of the legal system to stop Donald Trump from being president. And it is election interference. It's all of the things I said before: selective prosecution, prosecutorial misconduct, et cetera, et cetera. But it is also election interference. And they've been able to get away with it because there hasn't been any sort of repercussions for it. So ABA, American Bar Association, is more concerned with eliminating bias and enhance diversity. And they just recently brought on Obama administration representatives for misinformation, as if the ABA needs to deal with that. Wonder if they got rid of it because of pressure. I can't find it. But anyway, all right, I think I'm going to wrap it up. Thank all of you for being here tonight. I will be on again tomorrow night. And make sure you go to my link tree. Also Rumble. Those are my other links will be in there. So linktree.com/Dennis Hendrickson, and you'll be able to see the Rumble, other links that I have, and see you guys tomorrow night, hopefully. Thanks for watching.